Hey everyone, we've got Matt, the mortgage guy. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing well, man. So we're going to talk about a topic that I get weekly, and we're going to break it down as such. So we're going to talk about investment loans. We're going to assume good credit score. We're going to assume good down payment. We're going to assume they pass all the requirements with flying colors. I am under the understanding that there's kind of three buckets. It's easiest to get loans 1 through 4, assuming all the above. It's a little bit harder to get 5 through 10, right? A little bit of seasoning, a little bit of reserve requirements. They go up.
Right.
Maybe the rate's a touch higher. But in order to get loan 11 and on, you are now going to be in a portfolio loan, where you can get investment loans in the 3s. You're going to be in the 6.5s. And that's just a totally different ballgame, not something that usually mortgage brokers take on. So that's what I think the 3 buckets are. What's been your experience?
Right. Yeah. And I've dealt with quite a few investors. Being an investor myself, I see it personally where you want conventional financing.
Yep.
And your 10 loan limit is something that when investors are learning from other investors, they're saying, ideally, you qualify, you can get 10, your wife qualifies, she can get 10, you guys separate it. And I've seen that plenty of times. But to your point, as you add more properties, the lenders lend based on risk.
Mhm.
And the more properties you have, it's more risk to the lender. You're leveraged out over 7 properties. They're going to want to see reserve funds. A lot of them want to see 6 months of reserves per property that you own. Like you said, there's a small hit where it'll ask us in the application how many finance properties. If we put 5, you're talking 25 basis points or something, slightly higher rate. And that's just them protecting themselves a little bit higher risk. A guy who has 9 properties versus a guy who has 2, a little bit more risk of letting one go.
Yep.
So it makes sense. And, another important caveat of that is I talk to a lot of investors and they've got a number in their head or they've got a number in their bank account where, yeah, these things all cash flow. That's fine and dandy, but the underwriter's looking at your tax returns.
Yep.
And so you've got your schedule of real estate owned that says this property nets negative 1,000 a year. This one nets negative 2,677. And so that adds some complexity. Maybe you W-2 180,000 a year, but you've got 5 properties that for whatever reason, you've got a good accountant and you're taking write-offs that you're, legitimate real estate write-offs. Real estate can be great from a tax perspective. You just don't want it to be so great that you don't qualify for future purchases. And so, that's part of that equation too, is that as you get more properties, and I just looked at a file where he's got 15 properties and 9 are financed, 6 are free and clear. One of them is a 30-unit apartment complex, and a great self-employed borrower who does really well for himself, but he's got 1.5 million on the top line, negative 27,000 on the bottom line.
Whoops.
So this is the business. This is a guy with 8-figure net worth that has a great accountant, obviously, because the bottom line number is negative. But
accelerated depreciation and all those other goodies, right? Yeah,
everything you can take. And so that's something to think about as you're growing your portfolio. You want to be in a position where you can use conventional financing on 10 properties. As you get more, the underwriter's looking at your income plus your rental income, which could be positive or negative, versus every new mortgage that goes on the debt side. And, it's basic math, but it gets a little bit more complex when there's 6 mortgages, there's 6 lease agreements, plus your W-2 income. You got to sort out a bunch of different stuff to figure out if you qualify, because if you can't get the conventional stuff that's, on investment properties sub 4%, then you've got to go out and look for alternative financing, which is more expensive. That's why those 10 are so coveted. You want to be able to max yourself out with 10 finance properties, especially today when rates are so low.
Yeah. And the other thing, let's just mention, this could all change next year, right? Or tomorrow, theoretically. Because I remember in 2010 to like 14 or 15, it wasn't 10, it was 4, right? They kind of stopped after 4. There was this whole thing about, we go to 10, but nobody can get number 5.
Right. And certain lenders, can do what they want when they want. There was a time in 2020 where certain lenders that I was sending business to wouldn't limit you to 4, but for you personally,
Yeah.
they wouldn't do more than 4 on
Oh
their own.
yeah.
And so, I've got 6 finance properties, and the lender I was sending business to, who had the best rates and the best service, said, we'll only take 4 from you this year.
Okay. That's
And
reasonable. Yeah.
the funny part is October, November, just recently, they lifted that, said,
Huh.
okay, we're back to, we'll take all 10 from
From
the
investor
same
A.
person. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. That stuff ebbs and flows. I've got clients that are reaching out to me and said, I filled out all the stuff and I submitted my application to Chase. Chase told me they're not doing investment properties. And so the big banks are out when it comes to investment properties altogether
Wow.
for the time being. Who knows what'll happen in the future, but yeah, things change.
Yeah. And the other thing I'll just put out there, I'm sure we're going to be talking every week, but I suspect if the economy gets rip roaring again in 2021, like I think will happen in the summer, banks will just change. Like JP Morgan will be like, okay, we'll loan on investments. The forbearance is behind us. The eviction moratorium is behind us. If a borrower survived that, they're probably pretty good.
Yeah.
We'll take them at that point, right? If they survived 18 months of this nonsense, we will take them. And again, this first 4, 5 through 10, that's just banks being conservative. And again, that could change at any time, either up or down.
Right.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. That was good. I know I always get asked about that 10 loan limit. So I'm glad we were able to cover that. Thanks, buddy.
Yep.